I want to look at someone that broke my heart and say thank you, because every time that's ever happened in life, it's proven to be the decision that had to be made regardless. Obviously, a lot harder to say in those moments when you're feeling those emotions, but it goes back to that quote, events plus perspective equals outcome, right?
Right.
Looking back on life, anytime I've ever been hurt, personally in an intimate relationship, at the end of the day, it wasn't meant to turn out that way. And while it hurt in the moment, that pain led to growth. That growth led me to be here.
Born in 92 on the block with the Sharks. Come from a different cloth, y'all would get ripped apart. You want it diamond, then you gotta get it in the dark. We dropping nuggets like Carmelo went to Rucker Park. Now we eating from state to state, we scrape the plate. I put my eggs in a basket, took a leap of faith. I took a chance, now we grow and see the impact. Decoding success with special guests, now let's bring Matt.
You want me to do the 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, tell me when you're about to do it, though.
I'm about to do it.
All right.
3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Decoding Success podcast, back in the studio with the fellas. I have a little surprise for them, something that we've actually been talking about doing for quite some time. And before we just started recording this, Ant was saying that he has, as his recording goes off.
Yes.
What did you write down?
All right. I think, so you told us there's a surprise. We don't know what it is, hence the surprise. I wrote down the question game as seen on Instagram. Is that what it is?
Dude.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yes.
I have gotten hit with the same TikTok ad for like a full month without clicking on the profile, without viewing the video for more than 3 seconds.
Love it.
And at one point I said to myself, you know what? That's the next pod.
Ooh.
Just buy it. That's the
Hell
next
yeah.
pod. But before getting into that, how are you fellas doing? How's everything?
Excellent. I actually thought, when you just said that, have you seen recently kind of just like the meme on Instagram? If you're, let's say, if you're over 30, ask a question. If you're, under 30, ask a question. If you're over 30, give advice to someone under 30. Like, I thought you were going to go
haven't
there.
seen that.
It's actually going in every which direction on Instagram. People are doing it. Like, if you started a business, give advice. If you want to start a business, ask a question.
Ah, that's pretty cool. It's like a static post or something?
Yeah, exactly. Static post. And it's got a line in the middle, and it's like an over-under. But it could be...
Who's posting that? Like, give me I'll pull it up right now.
First one I saw was Gary Vee.
Gary. Oh, yes. I did see Gary do that. That's funny. I did see Gary do that. That's interesting. I think that's a pretty cool concept too, but the only thing is we're all over 30.
Right.
You can do it. Yeah, we can do it for anything.
We're all over
Also true.
30. No, but I got hit with this so many times, and I'm like, you know what, dude, just fucking buy it.
Hell yeah.
Like, just pull the trigger. What's going on with you?
It's cool.
Dude, fantastic. Life is good. All things are good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
And on time this time around.
No train interruptions.
traffic. Nah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking what we could do is there's 3 different categories in this box. Without playing by their rules, I was thinking about this since I bought it. I was like, you know what? Let's break the cards. I haven't really like looked at them or anything, but one grouping is mind effed. With that, I know I already cursed. Mind effed,
Okay.
vulnerable, and intimacy.
Wow.
So what I was thinking
We're going
is
there.
Where's this episode going today?
We're going there, baby.
is gonna
going
be-
in all 3 directions. I mean, we have time, obviously. So I was thinking what we do is we shuffle them up. We each pick a card from each group.
Cool.
So let's start to shuffle them up.
Could be some new highs and lows on this show.
Here's the thing, though. If there's a question, because I don't know what these questions are. If there's a question you don't want to answer, we have 1 pass.
Fair.
Ooh.
Use it wisely.
1 pass. You use it wisely.
Yeah.
This feels like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Call a friend, phone home.
I don't have the $1 million to give out, but
I don't know. Should have been from a sponsor, bro. Slack.
shout out to Fiji.
Shout out to Skims.
Yeah. I wish after this shirt. I'm the host. I can't go first. It's on YouTube.
So are we picking directly in front of us?
Whichever, you could pick any of them first.
Mindfuck.
You have to read the question too.
Sure. Mind F.
And do we all answer it or just him?
We'll see how much time we have. Yeah, we'll go around.
Oh, this is a pretty safe one. You kind of prefaced it almost saying like, I was expecting the worst. This ain't bad at all. It's how would a friend describe you? So pretty safe.
That is safe. I mean, I think we could answer on your behalf. But what would you say?
I would hope they say optimistic, there for them, present. Like when I'd like to think that when I'm with a friend, they know I'm with them, and my mind's not in like a million other places. That I have their full attention. Loyal is a big one. And just somebody that's down to hang. You know, like if you need a buddy and you need somebody like to get your mind off some things, I think I'm a good go-to on that.
I was working with a client literally yesterday. His name's Lyle Nearby, either of the two. Shout out to Lyle.
Nearby.
Really great guy. Really, really great guy. Originally from Jersey, now lives in North Carolina. And, yesterday when we had the earthquake, he was resonating with it because he was like, yo, I lived in Jersey for 30 years, never experienced that, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things I was helping him with was one of the things that question embodies, which is, how do you want to be remembered? Right? How do you want to be remembered? And he's, not to give his intellectual property away here, but he's really under the impression everyone should write their obituary, which is something obviously we've talked about in the past. So I'm curious if we could dig into that question a little bit more. You named off a bunch of different characteristics, but if you could be remembered for one thing, meaning not one thing that you've created into this world, but like if, God forbid, many years down the road, knock on wood, Phil and I think of you, like what's the one thing you want to be remembered by? Like what's that characteristic that stands out the most to you?
More than anything, I try to, like, in my actions on a regular basis, just try to make people's days a little bit better, whether it's having a long form conversation or a quick hello and just like acknowledging somebody. So, I truly think if I made as many people's days just a little bit better just by my interactions with them, I would say that.
Yeah. I think that's powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
And I could vouch for that.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, you do that. You definitely do that. I mean, I know this week you showed up for me literally every day, whether it was, hey man, how are you? Quick little text or voice note, 6 minutes or whatever the case is. Like, you do embody that.
Cool.
You do embody that for sure.
That's good because otherwise, I mean, that's what I'm gunning for, right? And that's and I don't do it for that reason as you just said, but it's interesting to put yourself to think in the past. It's almost like what's that Christmas Carol, right? Ghosts of Christmas Future.
Yeah,
just like now you're looking at your past. It's kind of a wild way to think, but I think it's those exercises that you just mentioned that most people, 99.9% of people don't do, that you're going to discover something when you do an exercise like that.
Yeah.
Well,
and looking at yourself from the third person.
Right.
That's huge because we might think we're showing up in a certain way, but how are we showing up if we were just looking at ourselves, just witnessing ourselves living life?
Yeah.
Right.
Is it the same? Is it congruent?
Yeah.
But I could vouch for that, man. I could vouch for everything you said. I mean, as your brother, consider you one of my best friends, like, for sure, man.
Yeah.
My guy's right here. Thank you.
What's your answer, Phil? Pass that card down.
Absolutely.
What is it again?
How would a friend describe you? So you said before, what's like the very short answer? For me, 3 words: a good man. To me, that encapsulates everything.
What is a good man?
A good man is a man who he does the right thing at all times. A good man is someone who is there for himself, others, doesn't subscribe to just people pleasing or doing what the world wants. Because I could have said a great man, but to me, a great man is, when you say a great man, it can be a people pleaser. It can be someone who just does whatever the crowd wants him to do. But a good man is someone who is grounded and he does what he feels is right and is congruent to the man he wants to be. So if he needs to speak up, he speaks up. If he needs to listen, he listens. If he needs to show up, he shows up. To me, that's what a good man is. And I think that if everybody can just say, at my funeral, they can say he's a good man, it's like, well, to me, like, what more can you ask for?
Dig deeper on that good versus great there, because I find that interesting where, and I see where you're going with it. You're saying that a great man can be essentially a people pleaser and someone would consider him to be great because he's doing that. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on that, which, brought you to share that.
So, based on others' viewpoint of view, they consider you great if you agree with them, because it makes them feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
And we notice that if we start agreeing with everybody, left, right, we lose our own identity. We're lost in the sauce. So a good man is someone who says, brother, I love you, but this is not what I stand for or what I would do. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means like, this isn't, I know you. I know who you really are. Like if I see Ant acting out of character, or you acting out of character, you might not agree with me, but a good man is someone who says, hey man, I think, I think we should have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
I think this, I think that. A great man could be, when I say great, like when we think like a great as in like better than good. So I understand that it can be an oxymoron there, but a great man could be someone who stays quiet, who just says, do you, bro? Like, doesn't reach out, doesn't try to help you get to the next level, just says, you do you. But a good man is someone who cares enough to go the extra mile to say like, honestly, man, like I'm giving more energy, wasting breath, telling you things. Like if I didn't want to see you grow, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So a good man is someone who actually cares, someone who like is bigger than him, is bigger than him.
It's also the difference between being that nice guy and a good man. Right?
Yes.
Huge difference there. So a lot of the things that you describe fall under the category of, oh, he's a nice guy. Nice guy has a certain connotation and definition behind it that you kind of want to shake that off. Like nice guy is almost like can be taken advantage of. Like you mentioned, people pleaser, doesn't really stand up for what he believes in. He just stands up for, what's everyone else want me to be type thing. So I feel you on that difference.
What's the easiest in this situation?
Right.
That'll maybe be the less resistance in this situation. And a good man is someone that everyone wants to rally behind. It's someone who says, this guy's a leader, and if I had to take one guy out of this group of 10, I'm with him.
I think when it's all said and done, that good man is actually viewed as a great man, right? Maybe not in the moment, right? Maybe not in the moment, because there's plenty of times I don't want to be told that I'm out of character. There's plenty of times I don't want to be told that I'm doing something wrong or whatever, like ego, whatever comes into play. But when it's all said and done, and the event that might be taking place for you to tell someone that they're out of character passes, things settle, you look back and you realize, oh, wait, he was right. So I think when it's all said and done, that good man really is a great man.
Do you think the upgrade happens after they're gone? Do you think you never achieve great until you're gone?
Well, unfortunately, I think for many people, and we all know this, right? Like, it goes back to the saying, when you have something, you don't know the value of something until you lose it most of the time, right? And I think that very much so plays into that. Maybe ties are cut or whatever the case is. Maybe the person passes away. Who knows? But I think if you have a certain level of awareness or a certain level of self-discovery or whatever it takes to put the ego in the back seat to really help you see that a good man truly is a great man, I think that really depends on the person you're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about making, viewing them differently once all is said and done. And it doesn't have to mean death. It could be something that they're doing in their career. Like we judge a player once his career is done, typically, as opposed to when he's in the midst of it. Like LeBron has a lot of people who, he's not Jordan, he's not this, but when LeBron's gone and not playing the league anymore, you're sure as hell going to miss him. And then you'd be like, yeah, he was so great. You almost appreciate them after their time is done.
Funny you bring that up, because I, for the first time ever, drafted LeBron in fantasy basketball.
A few years too late, but he's still putting up points.
He's still great. He's still great, right? But I think now I start to appreciate his greatness more than I ever did.
Because it's dwindling down? Is that why?
Maybe because it's less of a threat to the Knicks.
All right.
Maybe that's really what it is. But again, like that's competition, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is. It's not to say that I didn't know he was great. I just always said that he wasn't as good as Jordan. And now that like you said, now that his career is coming to an end, how many years does he have left? 2?
He's waiting for Bronny to come.
Which is happening literally this year. He entered the draft, So it's like, what do we have him for? I've never seen him play in person. I know you have.
Yeah.
I've never seen him play in person, So now I admit he's great.
Yeah.
I still don't admit he's better than Jordan, but I admit he's great. Road's coming to an end.
And we do that with people in life too, right?
All the time.
It's interesting what you guys just said too about the good and then great going on. I agree with you. I think what has to happen is that in that moment, you're viewed by the other person. Like if I tell you, hey, bro, I think you could be stepping up in this thing. You might not view me as great in that moment because like I said something that maybe triggers you, or maybe it calls you out. I mean it from a good place. But then once you actually look at it from an aerial view and you're looking at yourself and you understand the lesson, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
You're a good man? No, he's a great man.
Yeah.
It's also how the person perceived it and when they welcomed it. And maybe that takes 10 minutes, maybe that takes 10 years.
Sometimes, yeah, it definitely takes time. For some, right? For some. I mean, I could look back on just Phil and I's relationship. Phil's known me since I'm 17 years old, right? Give or take. Like, there were so many times Phil course corrected me out of friendship, right? More than anything. And there were so many times I just looked at him like, no, dude, like, shut up. No, like, I'm not saying that in an offensive way, but like, I was just so young-minded.
You weren't ready for it.
I wasn't ready for it.
Right.
That's it. I wasn't ready for it. If you're not ready for it, you're not going to view that person as great or potentially even good.
True. Very true.
I've said this on the podcast before in the past. I saw this graffiti in the Lower East Side, and it bears repeating. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. So you got pissed off by the advice at first, dude, and you weren't ready for it. And then it was in your somewhere in your mind, your subconscious. It kind of lived there and it lingered. And then when you were mature enough to be like, Phil kind of has a point. Yeah. Then it hit you. 100%, then it registered.
Dude. 100%.
Right.
I think that ties directly into good and great.
Yes.
Like that's awesome.
Yes. And I'm still experiencing that in my life to this day. So I don't think that ever ends.
Yeah.
I think like it just keeps leveling up or in things that you never maybe catered to. So there's something initially stings and then it's like, okay, you get to decide, but be real with yourself during that process.
Yeah. Because
then you're not going to learn from it. You're just fooling yourself. And then when the sting starts to subside, you're like, that was true.
100%. 100%.
Take that card, buddy.
How would a friend describe you? The first thing that I think of, or without even thinking, the first thing that comes to mind is that I would hope a friend describes me as someone with a big heart and willing to share it. And the reason that comes to mind is because for years, I acted as if I didn't have a heart, right? Because it was hurt so many times, whether directly or indirectly or intentionally or unintentionally. And at a certain point, you're like, how much hurt can I continue to receive? Number one, without processing it. And then also just like knowing that you have so much more life left to live. So there was a point in my life where it was just complete guard up, complete a-hole, D-word, like all of those things. But now I try to be much softer, right? I try to be much more empathetic. I try to be much more understanding, much more compassionate, much more like what I would want to receive if I was like looking at myself in the mirror. So I would hope that's how people would describe me. Like one thing, it would be someone with a big heart, period.
Love that, dude. That's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
It's going back to like what I was just saying about like Phil and I's relationship. Like he met me when I was 16, 17 years old. Like he could attest to the fact that I was very guarded. I didn't want anyone to get close to me. Not even friends. Like literally not even friends. At that age, 17, 18, I had one of my best friends betray me to a point where I emotionally erupted and I was just like, hey, I don't know how to navigate this. So I didn't want anyone to get close to me. Now it's the complete opposite. I want people to be close, and I want people to feel like they can be close. Like my arms are open for that.
So I didn't know, I didn't know you when you were 17. I've known you for what? Is it 5 years now? 4 or 5 years?
Probably 2019.
Yeah. So it's about 5 years. So it's wild. So you say this part of you, it's almost like, I believe it because you're saying it, and we have a witness here that can vouch, I'm sure. But I'm like, I don't see that at all. So it's so wild. So, when people are like, people don't change, but they do change if they're willing to change. And you were willing to change, and you have, because I don't see that side of you truly at all. Yeah. And you've come a long way based off what you're saying. But that's because the desire to change was within you. Otherwise, you know, when you're trying to work with somebody and they don't want to work on themselves, good luck. It has to, like we're talking about, it has to sting and it has to register. And then they have to be like, all right, I'm ready to make these changes. And you've come a long way, dude. I
think adding on to the willingness to change, to be honest, I think I was forced to change more than anything, right? And I look back at in numerous parts of my life, and it wasn't like I never sat there and said, okay, like time to change, right? It was just more so like, I cannot keep living like this. I have to, more than, hey, let's go change right now. Like I think it was, dude, your back's up against the wall, or dude, you don't like feeling the way you're feeling, or you're pushing people away and that hurts you more than the hurt if they were close to you. Right. Like whatever it was, there were numerous things that I felt like were really forced, which could go into the, the talk track of divine plan or whatever it may be. But yeah, when I look back, I'm glad we didn't know each other then, because you probably wouldn't be in my life.
Probably not.
Yeah. But that's that. That's cool. It's your turn, brother. You got to pick one.
Let's go with this. We've been vulnerable, so.
Remember, we got one pass. We got one pass. But if you're gonna pass, you have to read the question.
Fair.
Holy shit! What's an apology you never got to give?
Ooh.
Wow, that is deep.
Oh man.
Initially, my thought is that there's definitely been times that I haven't given apologies as quick as I need to. I do believe, and I say this wholeheartedly, that I do apologize. Sometimes it takes longer versus what I just said before, 10 minutes versus 10 years. But I always come back to that. So I'm just trying to think.
I'm going to answer for you just so there's no dead air space while you think here. My mind goes two ways. I have, and not that it's like a higher self, lower self answer. I'm going to give two answers. In short, number one was apologizing to all the people I've hurt, playing on what I was just mentioning, right? In regards to the big heart, right? Or the guarded heart. I think I tried doing that when I first started therapy, but I was doing it at the wrong time to the wrong people. And that led to hurting even more people. So for example, I'll be very frank about it. Dude, I hurt a lot of women. I've literally hurt a lot of women, and I'm not proud of that. I thought it was fun to play games. I thought it was amusing to, walk around a nightclub with a certain amount of power and have one woman in this corner, another one. Like I was a kid, like I was being really silly, for polite words here. But I really do wish that I could just like sit down all the people that I have hurt and say sorry. And I know I'm grouping them. That would be one answer. And then the other answer that I would give, it's really dawning on me now that I've never apologized to myself.
I was just thinking that.
I've never took the time to apologize to myself for all of the things that I've encountered that are worthy of an apology. I've just kept going. And maybe in ways I have apologized without actually, sitting down and saying, Matt, I'm sorry that I was so hard on you for this. Or Matt, I'm sorry I was so, harsh or whatever, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's where my mind goes when I hear that. Like, those are the first two things that pop into my mind where it's like, did I ever apologize to myself?
Yeah, and it had me thinking when you just said that too. What about the people that you don't even know you hurt? Boom. That you need to apologize to? Like,
Yep.
Because maybe it's got nothing to do with ego here. Maybe you're just not mindful of it,
Right.
you know? And maybe they never felt comfortable to express that to you.
Yeah.
Or maybe your mind had a wall and you didn't see it. So I think of that. I think of those people, which I don't know. It's almost like when not exactly the same thing, but a little interesting. It's almost like, you ever had like 10 years later, someone say to you like, oh man, I had a crush on you like when I was like 17, and you're like, you did?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
it's high school 10-year reunion.
Yeah.
You'll hear a few of those.
and it's like, you did? And it's like, yeah, no, I was obsessed with you. And it was like, and you're like, like I never even knew. I was like, yeah, I just never thought you would care about me. I just thought you were here and I was here. And it's like, so I'm thinking of that now with this as in terms of like the people that I owe an apology to that I'm not even aware that I need to. So kind of a blanket statement. Maybe I come around to realize that one day. Maybe I don't, but that's part of the growth. And the apologizing to myself is big because of the way that you handle certain moments, but you're hard on yourself during those moments.
Yep.
And then you beat yourself up for it. You say like, man, I could have handled it better. Well, like, if you look at yourself 5 minutes or 5 years in the future, like, of course you could have handled it better because you sat with the sting of it once again and you realized how you should have handled it. And at that moment, you didn't know. And also just flat out, sometimes you just mess up and you just need to apologize to yourself that like, I basically effed up and I didn't know any better. Now I do. I think of just like, besides that, I think of like just countless times probably. Probably I could have apologized to my parents, probably growing up. My brother, things like that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like you said, one of those things when you're young, for lack of a better term, young and dumb. And you just think that you're owed something, but we're not owed anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably that too.
That's literally why I keep my phone background. I have it on Do Not Disturb. I want to show you guys. This is literally why I have my phone background as Matt in second grade. My phone background is literally Matt in second grade because of what you just said. It's so easy to do the opposite of give yourself the empathy, the compassion, the this, the that when making a decision. But at the same time, would you treat the second grader or would you treat a newborn baby, right? Like if we don't know any better, we just don't know any better. We can't expect ourselves to make a decision if we just don't know, right? It's like we're in a trial and error phase. We might try something, it doesn't work. It's like, okay, it didn't work. Apologize to yourself. Like, it's okay. Was it a blunder? Was it a fuck up? Like, what was it? At the end of it, it's okay. You're still here. You're still alive. You know, you got another chance to get up and try again. But I try to remind myself time and time again, just by having that phone background, like, hey, dude, treat yourself the way that you would treat that kid in that photo.
I love that. And I also think it is powerful to have something on your phone background that sparks something within you, whether it be your son or younger you, or a place that you went to that sparks something within you to remember. Don't forget how you felt in this moment. It's so powerful to have something 100%. That every time you look there, it stirs something within you and puts you right on track or back on course.
100%.
That's really cool that you do that.
100%. You can't get out of this one, bro.
My mind was like, I was listening to you guys, but the whole time I was like, what do I say? I was like, I
this
would
is
go
the
back
new
and
rule.
forth.
New rule.
Yeah.
You can't pass.
I'm not
if
passing.
if someone opts into the card, you can't pass.
I'm not going to pass, but I was trying to think of like an example. And I was thinking this. I was thinking like younger me, like as a younger man, you know, in my teenagers years, like it was very hard for me to apologize. Like, no, I was like really stubborn with it. And I've come a long way since that. I go out of my way, even if it's uncomfortable, to apologize. Yeah. So I think of like the screw ups I've had in like the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years. I'm like, no, I've pretty much, for the most part, been head on with them as much as uncomfortable as it may be. I'm just like, that's where the growth is and that's the right thing to do. So I've lived by that principle for a while. So that's why it took me a long time to really think of one. But I would say mine is probably more in line with what you said, Matt, earlier. Just like, on the relationship end of things.
Yeah.
I think, there's a couple instances too, like, listen, you date and sometimes it doesn't work out. And, sometimes you're just like, oh, this person's not necessarily for me in the long haul. And, it's very common, I think, for people just to kind of lose touch. But then Phil said, there's some people that might be like mad at you and you're not even aware, or like they feel like they're owed an apology and you would be like, but why? You know what I mean? Like, so there's definitely been times for sure where I'm sure there's a few people that were just like, hey, whatever happened with us? And I'm like, oh, it just kind of faded instead of addressing it. So that I think I've been lacking on. And I can think of a couple of examples. Last summer I was talking to one girl, amazing girl, and timing just stunk. Like, I went to Greece. I was there for 3 weeks. I got back. I moved. Like, there was so many things happening. It just kind of got lost. And I got a message from her. I was like, hey, like, not quite sure what happened there because, we really hit it off. We, laughed the whole time we were together. And again, she's a great girl. It's like, hey, sorry, just there's a lot of things happening in my world at this moment. But I feel like I could have addressed it better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that warranted more of an explanation as opposed to, hey, just been kind of crazy busy. It should have been more of a it's not you, it's me type conversations, to quote Seinfeld, but I think I could have been more warm about it. I was just more matter of fact.
When it comes to situations like that, and even what you said, Phil, like the whole, I don't know who I hurt and owe an apology to. I agree with that because I definitely can resonate with that. But at the same time, that's not entirely our fault, right? If someone doesn't have the ability to communicate to us that we did hurt them, maybe it's because they're like, oh, wow, like, I don't even know how they would react. So I've just bit my tongue.
Right.
Like that part doesn't fall on us. Or like that part can't fall on us. If someone's not taking it into their own liberty and having, even women, right? Because women, the word that I'm about to say doesn't necessarily align with most women, but there needs to be a level of assertive communication from women too, to step up for themselves and say, like, be that independent boss woman and step up and be like, hey, like, I haven't talked to you in X amount of weeks. I know you're on vacation. Like, I'm not saying in that particular, I'm just using it as a scenario. Like, women do need to step up to the plate for that as well. I was just working with another woman yesterday, and that was actually one of her, like, she's in the relationship space. Her name's Dr. Morgan Anderson. And that's one of her, like, concrete pillar points for her brand. It's like, the way you communicate, especially as a woman, also has to be assertive. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, that's just going to translate. Was that your stomach?
That's again.
Yes, his stomach again. This guy's always hungry. This guy's always hungry.
Do we have food here from now on?
That is fucking great.
A plate of grapes or something.
I heard that and I was like, oh, did you move the chair?
And in my head, I'm like, maybe no one noticed. Maybe no one
Josh
noticed.
noticed
And then I
right
heard
away.
Josh laugh. I'm like, shit.
Josh noticed
They're on
right
to me.
away.
That's
They're
a
on
good
to me.
comedic moment.
No, but yeah, man, I think just to wrap that up, it's like we could be accountable for our part, but the other part, like, we can't hold ourselves accountable for that. We can't go out of the way and message everyone in our phone book, hey, do I owe you an apology? It's like, yo, if you're not going to speak up for yourself,
I think this is something I'm learning. I think too, it's knowing when to give that apology versus when stringing it along, because it might get better in the future. Like, when to just axe it, when to show up. I remember, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I remember I left my brother an apology, like, for the way I treated him as a kid. It's like 4 or 5 years ago. I left him a voice note. It was like, and it's freeing, it's freeing. So when you are aware of it, you leave it. To what you were saying before about, assertive communication. Like, I was just having this conversation the other day when I was quoting that book, The Way of the Superior Man by David Dita.
Yeah.
I just referenced that to you the other day also.
And
It's
because
wild.
both of you both referenced that book to me, literally back-to-back days, I started reading it again.
Dang. That's wild.
It's great.
Wow.
I'm watching right now on YouTube. There's a compilation of like 3 books that he wrote, and one of the things he says is that the communication styles, men are more direct. That's just how we speak.
Yeah.
Like we banter. Sometimes it's like, we make fun, like, in a good way. Like, we make fun of each other or something, like, but it's all love. And women are more so, the way they speak is not as direct. They just like to speak like kind of, I'm not gonna say beating around the bush is the wrong way to put it, but kind of not hitting the bullseye, kind of going around it, fluffy, and expecting you to get it.
Yeah.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, but we don't get it. Like guys, like we don't get it. It's like because like our communication styles is like, tell me if I'm doing something. So it goes to that too. And I think this plays into the apology thing of like knowing versus someone's telling you like, hey, I love you, but you hurt me.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh shit, like, all right.
That's a good analogy. It's almost in a lot of instances in my life in communications with, you know, women where I think a lot of times like you give a dartboard analogy, but like really like I feel like a lot of times I'm very direct. And if it's not the bullseye, it's in the green. It's in the outer rim. A lot of times they'll say something, but they're hitting the 20 or the 18. And it's not quite, they're not saying
It's like you in the garage.
Oh, man. Undefeated. Kind of, actually.
Yeah, they want you. They want to see if by what they said that you know that you can take it from the green to the bullseye. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent on that, but like
No.
this spins into all of it together.
That's good. It's my time to grab one.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, since you guys did Mind F and Vulnerable, I'll grab this one.
Oh, wow. Not going from the top. Respect.
I pulled from the middle.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass on this because we already answered something like
Very
this.
similar.
Does
Read
that
it, though.
count as my pass?
That doesn't even count as a pass, but read it just for...
So just so everyone knows, the card I pulled is what is your favorite quality about yourself? I mean, we kind of touched on that when it's like, how would a friend describe you? So
That's because you didn't choose from the top. That's what happened.
I'll choose from the top.
Oh, it's gonna be spicy.
Wow.
I could tell.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to pass. I mean, this is from the intimacy deck, and the question is, you're going to love this. What's one song that symbolizes you?
Ooh.
So
That's a great question.
to be honest, I really feel like it depends on the day. I mean, for me, music is so moody, right? Like, what am I doing? Like on the way here, I mean, Phil and I drove here together. I think we heard 30 different genres in the matter of a 40-minute car ride, you know? So I will say how I feel currently, right now, today, the song that would describe me, and I actually said this yesterday too. I don't think this is going to come as a surprise, but Hustler's Ambition is like
Love.
on my mind.
That's great.
Hard right now. I feel like there's a new fire lit inside of me. And like whenever I listen to that song, I feel like that song just like takes it to a whole new level. Right. And I try to tread carefully sometimes with music after having Danny Morell on the podcast and him talking about like, you know, the music you listen to, it influences. I do see that, right? Like the beats put us in a certain state. The words put us, you know, are programming us in a certain way. But man, I don't think I'll ever stop listening to that song.
Hell yeah.
It's such a good song.
It's a great song. You're a big 50 guy.
Too big.
Yeah.
Too big. I still think he's the best rapper. And he hasn't released an album in
Yeah, it's quite
God
a while.
knows
He's
how
become
long.
more of a personality now than anything, right?
yeah, I mean,
Been a long time. G-Unit was like, when G-Unit came out with the sneaker, I had them. I mean, it was just
did
like,
actually, yeah.
dude, they were just on top of the world. And then I guess
he is
I don't know what happened.
probably the most outspoken music artist I've ever seen.
Well, he's going toe to toe, not even because he's silent on the other end, but he's very outspoken about Diddy.
Big time.
He was going after Mayweather at one point. Like he's got
time.
a lot of things to say.
Dude, he just with everyone, right? Like he literally has had a beef with everyone. Like Fat Joe, Jadakiss. Granted, him and Jadakiss and him and Fat Joe squashed it. And granted, I'm not even like up on this stuff, but like just from following him and listening to his music, you know who he's speaking about in his songs.
100%.
You know what he's posting about on Instagram. But yeah, that's the song for me, dude. And there's so many times, like even on runs, like if I'm building like a running playlist, Like right now in this season of my life, I feel like that's the song that symbolizes me. It's just like Hustler's Ambition.
Remember when he said he'd give Mayweather, was it $1 million if he could read 5 pages of a Dr. Seuss book?
Well, Dr. Seuss is not easy to read, to be honest.
No, that was that. Talk about a KO. That was like, that was pretty nasty.
Yeah,
that was
no,
nasty.
100%. 100%. But what about you guys?
Well, I was just going to say one thing about 50 is that I think he's one of the best marketers alive. I think that he knows how to use these situations for other people to elevate his status and keep him in the light.
Yeah.
He's so exceptional at that. I remember I met him at our boy Sabino's liquor store when he did the effing vodka party.
What a mitt he has.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
Really?
I just told him, just out of respect, man, like, you're a genius with the way you position yourself in the market. Like,
That's that new school marketing, right? Like that new age marketing is playing on those current events. I can't find myself doing that. Not out of a fear of like being canceled, because who am I to be canceled? Like as of right now today, like I'm not going to be canceled because obscurity, right?
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like I don't feel like I have the balls to do that.
you have to have a lot of things going for you, and you have to be uber confident.
Yeah.
You gotta say, you can't. You have to, right. I'm sorry, but like what Phil just said, you have to be confident. And once you apologize, like we talked about, who do you owe an apology to just now? If you take those stands, you can never apologize. You have to be the
I
no
don't
apology
think-
guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think we align with that type of marketing.
exactly.
I don't think
Like
that's
Jake
our
Paul
type.
kind of marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for me. Good for him, but not for me.
That's for like the YouTube clout people.
Yeah.
Like I can't even put up a thumbnail on YouTube that's like controversial without feeling some type of way about it.
Right.
You know, like that just doesn't sit well with me whatsoever. Does it get the views and the eye? Absolutely. You know, like I think we see that across the board. Like 50's posts have millions of likes sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, dude, like I know you have a lot of followers, but it's because of the virality and the engagement behind it. And like I said, it's that new age marketing, but
Yeah.
I ain't about that.
For me with the song, I resonate deeply with what you just said. That it depends on the day. It can one day can be an uplifting house track. One day can be a church song. One day could be an Eminem track, like, Lose Yourself.
Yeah.
But a cheery staple that I've just always loved, that just does it for me, is by Little Rascals, It's a Beautiful Morning. Like, you hear that song and you can't not smile. And plus, when you play it in the morning, it just starts my day off like perfectly. So it said, what's the song that symbolizes you? I would like to be congruent with that song. Maybe some days I'm not. I keep it real. But I would like to be congruent with that song because the feeling that I get from it is it's a beautiful morning. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's cheery. It's a sing-along type song. It brings people together. Like maybe that's not your jam, but when you hear it, you can't not smile with that song. So that's a song that I hope I'm emulating on a daily basis.
I thought you were going to say it. Funny enough, I'm so glad I stopped myself from saying this. I was going to say it was by 3-6 Mafia, but it's not by 3-6 Mafia. It's by Swedish House Mafia. I thought you were going to say Save the World. What's that?
Great song.
It is a really good song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I thought that was where you were gonna go with it. I know that song was like a really big hit for you.
Yeah.
For everyone, right? Like that song was fantastic and still is. It's still great. Also glad, by the way, that we're not actually playing these songs, because the one time I played a song on the podcast to reference a song for someone, it got taken off YouTube. So we're not playing any of the music.
Fair enough. So you mentioned listening to a song in the morning. I only wake up. Well, I first use my Alexa to make sure I have a song that's waking me up, or a band, any type of artist. I wake up every morning with music, and then I set the harder alarm about 5-10 minutes after. So when you're like, all right, I got about 10 minutes to go before the annoying alert comes on, and you're kind of like dreaming with the music and just kind of like vibing, and then the comes in, and I'm like, all right, it's time to get going. But I like starting my day with a song, right? You have a song in your heart, you start the day with a song. It's a little pep in your step. So I'm with you on that. Somebody once told me, I thought you were going to go with that one. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day. Like that song is a beautiful day song to start your day with as well. Song that emulates me. I think I have one of the most diverse, like, and I listen to more music than most. I listen to everything, but there's something about old school Jay-Z,
Yeah.
like before he became like, married to Beyonce and, billionaire status, when he was still on the climb. That's my favorite Jay-Z period. I mean, because you listen to him, you're like, yo, this guy's going to get there. I don't know how he's going to get there, but he's going to get there.
Yeah.
I remember I had a poster in my dorm back in college. It was of Jay-Z, and it was like split down the middle of the background. And he's like, I got my CEO from the Marcy Projects or something along those lines. And part of the poster was the projects, and the other half was the New York City skyline.
Sick.
And he did all that. And I love that, you know? So a couple songs come to mind. One is Tupac, Picture Me Rollin'. And 2 is Jay-Z. The song is called DeVille's. And he has this one line in there that I absolutely love. And I'm going to speak it because I will embarrass myself and we're going to lose
Try to rap
listeners.
it. Try to rap it.
He goes,
Try to rap.
he goes, no, it's not. I can't rap. He goes, granted, 9 to 5 is how you survive. I ain't trying to survive. I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how I live my life. I'm not trying to do 9 to 5. I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it a lot. Like I hear that line. I remember I heard that for the first time. I did a Euro trip post-college, trying to figure out where am I going to go in life?
Yeah.
After this Euro rail trip, like what am I going to do? And I played that song on repeat all summer, and it became just kind of my theme and my anthem. And I love that line. So, and that was just about 18, 17 years ago. And I still love that song.
They don't have lyrics like that in rap anymore.
No. I mean, to his credit, Drake's a very gifted lyricist.
Yes.
And still comes with it on a lot of songs. Like, I love, granted, he puts out a new album like every year. It's ridiculous. But I think with Drake, it's been a lot of filler songs in the last few years, where as opposed to him being a hit-making machine, it's more like, hey, look how many songs I can make. And if you listen to the bars, they're incredible, but they're just not as catchy and they're not like memorable. That's been the problem.
I feel like the only people you're getting verses like that J verse is from like J. Cole.
Yes. You heard that diss track?
I didn't listen to that yet.
It's nasty.
I didn't listen to that. But J. Cole, you're getting that. I don't know. Like, I still listen to Lloyd Banks when he drops something. He's good for like a mixtape a year. I love Lloyd Banks. Like, you're getting that type of stuff from him. I don't know anyone else. Like, does Fabulous even drop music anymore? I feel like he's the type of person you would get that from. Jada, Jeezy. But I don't know of any other artist that's including. I mean, you're not getting that from Gunna or Lil Baby or this one or,
Well, my favorite lyricist of all time is Nas. But even Nas songs lately, they've been good. But I don't know. It's also when you're at a different point in life, when you're younger and you're in college and you have all this time to just kind of just listen to music and do nothing else.
Yeah.
You're going to be nostalgic about those songs, and you're going to hear them on loop 50 times each.
Yeah.
So they hit different. But not too. The game has changed.
Rare, dude.
Yeah, the game has changed.
It is so rare.
Yeah.
What time do you have to bounce?
Yeah, I was going to write this note to you and just slide
No,
you. I have a hard out at
talking,
3 because I have a surprise
Oh,
birthday.
we got time. Yeah. We got.
This episode's
You have
not
to
coming
leave
out.
here at 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
This-
we're chilling.
We're not releasing this today, right?
No, it's coming out right now.
Oh, okay, well,
No,
it's
fuck
Mike's
with you.
surprise. It's Mike Masha's surprise birthday after this, and I have
Happy
to
birthday,
run.
Mike. Happy birthday, Mike.
So that's why I'll be leaving at 3.
All right. Cool. No, we're good.
Cool.
You're up next, bro.
All right, awesome.
You can't choose from the same pile that you chose from.
These rules are changing.
No, you
Like a
can't
living,
keep going
breathing
back to the
document.
same
you
pile.
cho-
But I feel like that's gonna be a fun one.
You
All
chose
right,
mindful,
fine.
so-
Interesting.
Ooh, here we go.
Ooh, ouch. What's the one thing you would say to a person who broke your heart? Oof. I guess I would say and I'm not trying to sound bitter here, but almost like I told you so, because what happens inevitably, like when you treat somebody so well a lot of times and then they don't see what they have in that moment, you're just like, no, like, let's fight. Let's make this work. And they want no part of it. And, trying to like do everything I can to like bring them back and like make things work. Like, look how good we are together. And then you're forced to move on. And then when you're forced to move on, you have to like put on a different coat.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to like just be a different man. And for me, when I make the decision of like, I really have to move on. That's not an instantaneous thing unless somebody really does you like dirty and like it takes me a while to get there. Because when I'm like very in love with somebody, like I don't just turn it off 1, 2, 3. It takes a while to get there. But once I've gotten there, it's taken me a while to get there. And if I'm just like, you know what, I'm moving on. Once I make that decision, I've moved on. Like that's just how it goes. And we've talked about this before. I don't wear that as a badge of honor. It might sound like it, but I don't. It's just how I am. And I would just say for the next one, just like when you have a good thing, just appreciate what you have in front of you because it's hard to replicate real love and a real connection, and they're few and far in between. So when you have a good thing, hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's powerful.
Yeah.
I think that I'll piggyback on that and just say, not to skip over you, Phil. I don't mean to skip over you. Just as I have this thought in my head, I think that I would answer this question in 2 parts because I resonate. And it's not to say that a part of me, like there's no right or wrong here, but I think for me, it's a 2-part answer. One of myself and one of who I want to be, right? So like myself, I get it. Like I fully align with what you're saying, but like where I want to be able to say thank you as well. I want to look at someone that broke my heart and say thank you because every time that's ever happened in life, it's proven to be the decision that had to be made regardless. So like, obviously a lot harder to say in those moments when you're feeling those emotions, but it goes back to that quote, events plus perspective equals outcome, right?
Right.
Looking back on life, anytime I've ever been hurt personally in an intimate relationship, at the end of the day, it wasn't meant to turn out that way. And while it hurt in the moment, that pain led to growth. That growth led me to be here. So I would love to get to the point of answering that question in that way. I can't say that I do just yet, but that's what's popping up, you know?
And that's your answer. It's what pops up. So that's the true answer right there.
It is. But like I said, I wouldn't, like first riff, I wouldn't answer it that way. Right? First riff, I'm going to be honest, first riff that comes up for me is fuck you.
Right.
You know, because it hurts, right? Like no one wants to experience that. That's my first answer from a non-logical, think it through before you talk, like fuck you. Like you hurt me, right? But that's ego in the driver's seat. And my ego definitely pops in the driver's seat every now and then, whatever. But how I would want to answer it is different. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of a 2-part thing. The question again, what's one thing you would say to a person who broke your heart? 2-part thing for me. One is I understand where you were coming from, and I appreciate everything you did for me. The other thing, I don't necessarily know if I would say this to them, but I would say it to myself, is I also understand where you were coming from because it takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
So I learned from you and you learned from me. It helped you grow. It helped me grow. Because instantaneously, like you said, when the ego's in the driver's seat, it's your natural gut reaction is to flee from pain. So you're not going to want to sit there. You may not even want to have the conversation. And I think that's the most profound thing ever is when you can sit in a moment of pain and have that conversation. Even if you see that it's a little painful and you have to take a step back, as long as you come back to it, because that's safety. And ultimately that means even if it didn't work out, you still, you respect the person and you respect them enough as an individual to have that conversation. So I would say the things that I didn't see that you saw, thank you, because I see them now. And the things that, and it depends who you're speaking with, but the things that I saw too, I would just say it to myself back to the question from before about the grace and apologizing to yourself. I would say like you saw it back then, you just didn't acknowledge it. It didn't fully hit you until now. So thank you, but also thank me.
Yeah. That thank you is powerful. Like I said, I hope to be able to get to a place of, I don't know if that's called enlightenment. I don't know what that's called, but I mean, years down the line, time down the line, I feel like it's easier to get to that thank you. But like in the moment, I don't know if that's possible. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm breaking up. Oh, thanks. You know, like, unless you're being a sarcastic asshole. But
Look at the range of answers that we're given. Thank you, fuck you, told you so.
yeah.
Those are radically different answers.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, those are, I think what we all share is that, sure, while a part of us, and key word is part, right? Because I like to look at each individual as someone that's composed of parts. I don't think the whole me would say fuck you to someone that hurt me. But I think a part of me would. And that part of me is also the part of me that's previously been hurt. But furthermore, there's another part of me that does have that enlightened spirit where I can sit here and say events plus perspective equals the outcome, or you hurt me and that pain led me to here and I love where I am now, right? Like there's parts of all of us, and sometimes we just have to know what part needs to come out, what part is getting triggered right now. We have to just identify the part. And if we're able to identify the part, we could operate from our heart.
Ooh.
Bars,
Bars. It's a new rapper in town.
Phil, you're up, bro.
I chose vulnerable.
You went vulnerable, yeah.
Alright, so let's try. Let me pick one in the middle.
I don't even know what this is called. Shout out to Substance by Lovely. You hit me with so many TikTok ads, bro. You got me. $40. You got me.
Great game.
I enjoy this.
Great game. This is awesome.
I enjoy this.
Yeah, this one's deep. What would be your dream job if money wasn't a concern? What would be your dream job if money wasn't your concern? So, what comes up for me right away is something that I don't necessarily know if I can achieve, but it can help a lot of people. Let's say something regarding sickness, cancer, something regarding role models. Like I had this vision in my head, actually. It's actually something I do want to do, just not currently right now.
I'm not going to be able to share after this because I'm so much more selfish than this, but...
Same.
Yeah.
Phil's over here. I want to cure cancer.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, think if money wasn't a concern.
Yeah.
If I had $10 million in passive income every year, I could eat, sleep, do anything I want at any time. Literally, the world is my oyster. I'd want to help people who are really suffering.
Yeah.
And that could be people who, once again, like a sickness. That could be, for me, something that has come for me more recently is a role model organization, but in terms of being a father figure. So for kids who don't have dads, because now I have my son Luca, and not everybody has that connection to their father. A lot of people don't have a father.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have a mother. So something with that, where I can teach kids values that they're not getting at home and otherwise would be lost. I don't know how I would even fund that. That's just something that I feel like was called to me in a dream. I don't know how I would fund that, if it would be a charity, if it wouldn't be. And then part of me, I want to say part of this might be selfish and part of this might not be. I would also say doing what I do now. Because what I do now does help people. Maybe it's not as glorious or as Times Magazine thing as Phil found the cure to cancer.
Person of the year.
Yeah, person of the year. Maybe I'm not the person of the year, but I'm still a person, and I'm still a person of the year to somebody. If I could run with that. So
I think what you just said is so powerful, and I think if more people embodied what you just shared, their impact would actually grow further than what it currently is. Like, there's so many of us trying to be the Time Magazine person of the year. And while I'm not sitting here telling anyone and shitting on any grandiose goals, not everyone is going to be Time Magazine person of the year. And I think if we can find our lane, maybe not even lane, maybe lane's not the best word, but if we can find where we are to be the person of the year, I think our impact would 10x, right? Because there's only one Time Magazine person of the year. There's 8 billion people in the world. Like, I'm not sitting here saying don't shoot for that, but find who needs you to be the person of the year in their life.
To them.
Yeah.
To them, because that's huge for them. Because maybe what you provide is that form of the cure to cancer to them. At that
Exactly.
point in their life, right now, you got them to a better tomorrow. So
There you go. Yeah. Keep going on that, bro. Like, you have the ability to cure, like right now, let's use you as the example. Like, you have the ability to cure a cancer in someone's business by helping them with their marketing. Maybe the cancer's within their marketing, right? So maybe it's not from, a human perspective. Maybe you're not curing, lung cancer, but maybe you're curing, and I'm not trying to use cancer in an insensitive way here, but maybe you're curing marketing cancer. Maybe you're curing obscurity cancer, right? Whatever it is, right? Like, you're curing something, dude. So
yeah,
you're doing that in ways.
the biggest thing is the fear cancer, the freeze cancer, the flight or fight cancer in what I do. So in what I do with restaurants and helping them improve their revenue and literally keep the doors open through alternate ways, that literally cures them from going to sleep at night, having a knot in their stomach saying, oh shit, am I going to be able to open the doors tomorrow?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to pay these 40, 80 employees?
Yeah.
Because if I can't, it feels like I'm having a divorce with my business, with my employees. I just divorced 80 employees. Like, wow, I'm a cocksucker. Like it's such a shitty feeling, and I've been there. So that's why I opened what I did, what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's powerful.
very.
And you wrote something down.
I did. That's a tough follow-up. Sure, that was a good strategic pass, by the way, on you, Matt.
Well, no. I think I'll be very quick with it. I mean, this.
Yeah.
Like, if money wasn't an issue, like, Josh, I'm sorry, I would be your only customer. I would ask to rent out the studio every single day, every single hour, and I would just sit here. Like, that is what I would be doing.
100%.
There's nothing. I'm literally, the hair on my arm is starting to stand up. Like, there's nothing I enjoy more in this world than doing this.
Yep.
Like, just having conversation, chopping it up, broadcasting it on YouTube, broadcasting it on audio platform. Like, bro, I have everyone always says, find your passion, right? Find your passion. But at the end of the day, I compare it to going into a pizzeria. You don't know if you like an upside down Sicilian until you try an upside down Sicilian. You don't know if you like a chicken bacon ranch slice until you try that. I don't know. Maybe people would know that.
Or Hawaiian, which gets a really bad rap for no reason.
Hawaiian should not exist. But
It's
at
not
the
that
end of the
bad.
day,
It's not that bad.
Hawaiian pizza should not exist. But like, I would have never discovered this unless I tried. And once I tried, I got a little bit better at it. I liked it even more. Started to learn from it, liked it even more. Started to, feed parts of the ego by, in full transparency, having conversations with certain people, liked it even more. Bro, like, I would be right here.
Love that. And then, yeah, I think too, when you see so long as you're seeing growth within yourself, and again, you want the accolades, you want the recognition, all that stuff's, we say, we don't care, but to a degree we do, right? But also when you're seeing growth within you and you listen to episode 4 of Decoding Success podcast and you listen to
Ew, don't do that.
304. Yeah,
Don't do
I'm sure it's gross. But 4 verse 304, and you look back and you're just like, oh, God, like, well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But goes back to, is it, I'm forgetting the name of the book. Not the e-commerce myth. Anyways, regardless of what the book name is, the E-Myth. Thank you,
Yeah.
E-Myth. If you look back at your initial offering and you're not embarrassed by it, it means you started too late. Like, you shouldn't be embarrassed in the beginning. Like, you should come a long way. You're not going to be the most polished off the bat.
Yeah.
That you have to be willing to get in there to learn. That's the only way to learn.
Yeah.
You go to podcast training classes, which help, but nothing will prepare you like actually starting the podcast.
Doing it. Yeah.
You've come a long way, man.
We did episode 300 right here.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Absolutely.
We did episode 300 right here, man. Yeah. It's definitely been a long fucking way. That's for sure. You're not getting out of it, though.
No, not trying to. No, truly. So very much on the same lines as what you just said. I'm doing it. And I really mean that. And that's why I'm like, I feel very happy and fulfilled. And sure, there's certain goals that I'm trying to fulfill and different accolades, and I'm trying to level up, but I'm doing it. So my passion is small business and entrepreneurship. It's like, it's my everything. I love it. I just like, it makes me tick. It makes me go. Ever since I was a little kid, I was like selling baseball cards, doing, lemonade stands. I told the story of when I used to sell like the fuzzy pens that my friend's mom made. I've always had this thing inside me. I just love it. And now I'm doing it with my business Rare Cut. So it gets to tap into, I get to tap into like my marketing side, my creative side, which I'm now leaning into even more and having fun with it. And when people see you're having fun with what you're doing, they want in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like people are like, oh, you look like you're authentically having a great time. Because I am.
People are drawn to that.
Yeah. And there's something about that. It's like follower count has been up, engagement's been up, our sales have been up, just because I'm like showing all the sides of me.
Well, you care about it. Yeah.
Big time. And then kind of like what Phil touched on a little bit as well is like we do also certain things that are near and dear to my heart, because when you're a small business, you write the rules, right? When you make your podcast, you make the rules, right? And you incorporate what you want to. Everything's a hybrid. Yeah. Everything is a hybrid in nowadays. You see collaborations with companies that have nothing to do with one another. Like Stanley Mugs, didn't even know, what a new thing that is, but they can team up with like, I don't know, a hot dog company. They can just like any two companies can
Glizzy's.
like pair. Yeah, Glizzy's. Any two companies that have nothing to do with one another, all of a sudden now can. So like, yeah, we do things already with, for causes. We have a breast cancer awareness campaign that we've done. And we've done, we worked with the kids in A. Philip Randolph after school program in Harlem and got all those kids their first custom suits.
That was so sick.
We're doing something for Greek causes with marbles, which is going to be released later this year. But like, those are all things that's just like, all right, to answer that question, your dream job is usually when we think dream job, it's things of just like, all right, I'd like to put my footprint and make my mark doing X, Y, Z. But when it falls under the your brand, you can do it all. So I think this gives me an avenue to touch on all the things that are important to me under one umbrella, under the Rare Cut umbrella.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. We have a little bit of time. We got one last question in us, boys.
Let's do it.
Do you want one each? You're saying, right?
I
don't know. This is your show, man.
No. I mean, I don't know if we have one each left. We have about 30 minutes of going, so
let's
roll. Let's roll. This is fun, man. I'm having a great time with this.
Which one was just chose? Was it vulnerable?
No, I chose mindful.
You chose this one?
Yeah.
Mindful. I don't think it's mindful. I think it's mind F.
Mind F.
Star, bro. What a kind mind you have.
We'll go vulnerable here. Ooh, this is a fucking great question. What has been your biggest reality check moment in life? Holy shit. I don't know, but the first one that comes to my mind, and I don't know if I've ever shared this on the podcast. What has been my biggest reality check moment in life? I actually don't even, I'm going to give you what's coming up the top of my head. And maybe it wasn't a reality check moment in the moment. Maybe it was a reality check moment years down the road, but I don't think I've ever shared this on the podcast, but it was actually shared earlier in this episode when I had an incident in 2010, St. Patrick's Day, where a very good friend of mine, or a former good friend of mine, essentially betrayed me and was like talking to an ex-girlfriend behind my back, and at the time literally had no emotional regulation or no ability to soothe myself, no ability to do any of those things. And granted, I was literally a senior in high school. All of that being said, it led to me going into like an absolute rage, like a legit rage. I've never seen anything like that from myself ever after that. But I think the reason that's coming up for me as like the biggest reality check moment in life is now because the work that I'm doing today, the work that I've been doing the last few years, the work that I'm going to continue to do will never allow that to happen again. Right? I feel like that is actually, that's the biggest reality check moment. And of course, I'm sparing some details here, but man, that was a moment of just like no ability to just stop, pause, think for a second, and then act. That was react the minute the emotion struck. And there was not for a second it was just like this. Blinders on. Matt knows what he's doing. Matt doesn't know if it's right or wrong. He's just doing it. And dude, like, what a disaster. Like, what an absolute disaster that day was. And I suppressed that, repressed it, whatever the right word would be, for literally years up until 2017. So I really think that was the biggest reality check.
How would current Matt handle that same situation if it unfolded today?
Question.
Great fucking
Great
question,
question.
dude. And to be honest, I would hope current Matt would just sit with like what he found out before even doing it, before responding to a message, before responding to someone relaying it to me in person. Like, dude, I would just hope that I would have the ability, and I'm confident in myself to be able to say I do, but just to have the ability to do one of these.
That slight pause
That slight pause.
changes everything.
Like, would I be emotional? Yes. I'm sure I would feel the feelings of upset, anger, rage, confusion, this, that. Like, I'm sure I would still feel that. But instead of feeling it and acting, just feeling it and then thinking. Maybe not overthinking, but just like process it. Is what you're about to do smart? Is it not smart, right? And I hope that I never experience that again. But yeah, man, I really do think it's the simple answer to that is just like take a pause.
So, and be based what you said when you said the deep breath, right? It's the ability to be less reactive, right? And be when people are so certain things you have to, it's fight or flight, you have to. But certain things like that in the moment, yeah, everyone could justify it. But then you look back and you're like, damn, that was such a weakness. And when we see people acting reactively to things, right, just based on instincts a lot of times and losing their cool, it might feel good in that moment, but you're going to feel like crap shortly thereafter.
100%, because that is either number one, how we saw emotions get released at some point. Like maybe we saw it in the household, maybe we saw it in the schoolyard, maybe that's how we were taught emotions get released. Maybe that's just our natural animalistic reaction, is just go all out and, release it physically, or, fighting, or this or that, like screaming. Like, dude, when I see people scream at each other, I'm like, what is that doing for you? I used to be a screamer. Not to throw her under the bus, my mother was a screamer, but like, what is screaming doing for you? Screaming is your way of trying to release what you're feeling. But screaming at someone does nothing except hurt the other person.
Yeah.
Or taint the relationship, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, I see sometimes people screaming on the street, on a phone call. And to me, I'm just like, part of this, they're doing this is for attention. And maybe there's something very serious happening on the phone. I'm not discounting that, but there's also a way to go about it. But a lot of people want the attention, and you might want attention by being, brought up in the podcast world and people looking at you and admiring you. But like other people might not have those things going on in their world, and their way to get attention is just by screaming on the phone and people turning their heads, and that's how they get their validation. Yeah. So there's a lot of that.
There's probably so many different reasons, but yeah, man, I don't know.
Loss of control. Biggest thing.
Loss of control.
Loss of control. Upset at themselves for the loss of control.
Yeah.
Or the perceived loss of control.
Yeah. That's a hard question, bro.
What has been your biggest reality check moment in life? It's kind of twofold for me. One is not everyone is going to look at life the way you do, and that's okay. Because maybe you're looking at it through rose-colored glasses, or maybe they're looking at it through rose-colored glasses. And in time, with growth and self-awareness, you're ultimately going to find out, were you both right? Was one right or the other? And I think that has also come up for me a lot in certain, I would say, in certain positions, certain jobs, certain relationships. So the part two of this is no one is coming to save you. You go to high school, you go to college, you get a degree, I got my master's, went into accounting, found out it wasn't for me, and you exit that. And even when I exited that job, there was a lot of hostility from one manager. He said something really, really sly to me, which was like, I hope you, like, yeah, like good luck, but I hope you don't make it kind of thing. And then I found that again in my next position, and this is with family, and same kind of thing. And then in the next position again. So I'm learning throughout time that if I'm seeing repeated things, it has to do with me. It's on me, you know? I'm putting myself in situations.
The world's reflecting that back at you.
Exactly. But when I say no one's coming to save you and not everybody's going to view life the way you do, and that's okay, because sometimes you're meant to do your own thing. And how that relates to no one's coming to save you is no one's going to look after you ultimately the way you're going to look after you. So whether it's a position, whether it's paying bills, whether it's relationship dynamic, whether it's my son, no one's coming to take my place. No one can do that. I won't allow anybody to do that. So it's like, how do I show up not only for me, but for him? And like, it's not even a thinking process. The primal brain just says, just do it, bro.
Yeah.
Just do it. And you get into situations, like you said, where it's like forced growth, where it's like, I didn't read a book as to like how to be ready for this. It's like, just go.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do this. I think those were a couple of big reality checks for me.
I love that.
Right.
Bring us home here, bro.
Yes.
Bring us home.
Absolutely. What has been your biggest reality check moment in life? For me, so I sell medical devices. I always talk about Rare Cut, but I also sell medical devices. And
I think that's an important point to make, just going back on what you shared. Like, you're doing what you love and you have something to fund your love.
Yeah, that's huge.
Same, by the way. Same,
yeah, it's
right?
important.
So I think that's just an important part that I just wanted to throw out there for everyone. I didn't want to do it until you mentioned that, but I'm glad you did.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. So I've been with this company for a long time. Great company, 13 and a half years, which is wild. But one time we had a meeting, and we don't have meetings that often. It's every once, a few times a year. So we had a group meeting, and I believe it was in Boston. And one of my coworkers, by the name of Paul Zurich, said, "Hey man, how are you getting to the airport?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just gonna call a cab." He's like, "Nah, I got you. I will drive you." I'm like, "Aren't you going in that direction?" He's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna bring you." So we're in his car and we're blasting EDM. We're just kind of like getting into it. And he's like, "I'm going to this concert this summer, this concert this summer. I want to travel. I want to do this and that." Tomorrowland, I think, was something he wanted. Like, he's like, "I want to go to Tomorrowland." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds great." And then we're in the car and he's saying, "Hey, I'm doing this marathon." And it wasn't in Boston. I forget exactly where it was. I think it was in New Hampshire, but he goes, "I'm doing this marathon. I'm doing it with my wife. I just kind of can't wait for it to just be done with. But it's one of those things I just want to check off. And once that's done, I want to do X, Y, Z." So he's talking about all his plans and all this stuff. So what happens is him and his wife ran this marathon, right? He was a little faster than her, but he wanted to wait for her. So they're running. He's jogging in place for a while. She finally catches up. They cross the finish line together, and moments later, he has a heart attack, and he died.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that shook me up, shook everyone up. And, went to the funeral, and then, a few days later, you just see like job opening, Northeast available. And I was just like, holy shit, like just a number. Like, and I don't, of course the company has to fill the void. I get that, but it just really opened my eyes to like, he's been gone for not that long. We're already filling the spot and we have a replacement in no time. And then everyone kind of moved on. And it shook me. I still have his, his memorial card. I still have it in my room to like remember Paul, because he was a good man. And I remember just kind of like really being deep in thought and in my mind of just like, he had all these plans to do all these things and he never got to do them. And he left behind, beautiful family. And it was really the moment in my life where I started saying, I'm going to start doing more things for me. And I did. I'm like, I'm going to see the world. Like, so I did. I've been taking so many more trips since that. I've leaned into more things with, you know, the things I want to do, like Rare Cut, my company, I always spend time with my family, but spent even more time with family and creating more magical moments, like making sure they happened, because everyone has a plan. And then, you know, sometimes it doesn't pan out that way. So that for me was just a huge reality check moment in my life. And and the first thing that I did was, you know, I'd been in a relationship for a number of years. We broke up, and then I went to one of the best trips of my life. I went to Thailand. I went for 2.5 weeks, and my manager at the time was like, yeah, you sure you want to take that much time off? I'm like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. And he's like, oh, how about 1 week? I'm like, no, 2 weeks. And I love my manager at the time, especially, but he was just like kind of fighting it. I'm like, I'm doing it. And it was one of those, like, I'm willing to walk away type things. If you don't let me go, I didn't want to lose my job, but like I had to do it for me. And I did. And guess what? I'm a better person for it. I lived by my rules. And, you know, that's partially due in part to seeing what had happened with that unfortunate moment and just being like, don't lose the lesson of what happened there.
We're on borrowed time, man.
Yep.
We are on borrowed time without a doubt. And I think that's a great reminder to just end this pod on, is like, you just listened to this entire episode. Now go out there and do something for yourself, right? Whatever it is, spend the time with the family, go for the, do your thing. Like, do your thing. That is without a doubt. But gentlemen, this was awesome.
Can we bring this back another time?
Have fun.
This was
I
really
think we
fun.
have to. Josh, have you seen anyone do this before?
Different game, but
Same thing.
this is good. Though.
I enjoy this. This was cool.
Yeah,
this was cool.
sure.
Should we put these in a separate
Yeah,
stack
I've been holding the cards in a
good
separate
call.
stack so that we don't answer the same questions. But yeah, we'll bring this back. And on that note, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys. As mentioned, I genuinely meant it when I said it before. Chills again. I hope you could see that. The camera might not be able to pick that up, but really have the time of my life doing this stuff, and appreciate you guys being here. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yes,
As
thanks for
always.
having
Of course. Everyone, until next time, be blessed. Peace.